When I went to school, I had a dream of these two bombs in Canterbury Park falling, and the next night they fell. Kids told their parents about this, and the parents said, don't have anything to do with David Mandel, he's in with Satan. And I went through quite a frightening time, that none of the kids would actually speak to me. They'd been banned from talking to me. Even the teachers wouldn't believe it.
A retired university art teacher, David Mandel is today renowned for his paintings of precognitive dreams.
Most people, if they have a dream, they have to write it down in notes. As an artist, I was able to very quickly put some quite accurate imagery down in colour as well of what I was seeing. But a lot of my dreams, the actual sketches I make of them, are very sort of disjointed. There's little scenes going on all over the place. Dreams, if they're about a major event or something like that, they're usually more vivid. They're nearly always in colour. They've got a sort of sharpness, like jagged edges sort of thing. Symbols are very important in dreams. If I dream now of a World War II British fighter, the Hurricane, I know there's going to be a terrible wind or hurricane because I'm given the symbol of a hurricane. It's happened about 8 times and it's come right every single time. The 1987 hurricane happened like that. I saw 16 of these World War II British Hurricane fighters in 4 diamond formations, 4 to a diamond. The number 16 just kept cropping up over and over again. It was 16 days later that the hurricane came. When you get things like that, I know it's a premonition dream of the future. Something fairly big is going to happen. If you're going to tell people that you've had this dream and you've got just people signing the backs of the drawings, they're not going to believe that. They'll say you just got them to do it after the event or something like this. And the bank photograph idea really fitted in very, very well with that because there was absolutely no doubt. Nothing could be altered on the date display on the bank, and that would verify the fact that, I was telling the truth. Something was going on here. The quickest one that's ever happened was the Watford train crash. I had the dream, I took the painting I made of it to the bank on the same day. I think the photograph was taken about 4:40, just before they closed. The train crashed at Watford 18 minutes later. What had happened is a train had come alongside another train and had hit the back of it, and the carriages went right up on top of the carriage of the train it hit, so it was sort of perched in the air above the other carriage. Quite a mess. All the overhead lines and everything's all been ripped to bits. It was quite dramatic. Now, the really sort of unnerving thing, my body started to actually start going quite cold with not fright, but with shock, really. There must have been people boarding this doomed train while I was having the bank photograph taken. The fear is that other people will actually blame you for it and say, if you hadn't have had this dream, it wouldn't have happened.
Sometimes people have had a dream and felt they might have done something to prevent the bad event happening, and then it's very upsetting, and they carry a burden of guilt. Now, it's pretty rare that you can intervene. If you see a plane crashing, there's not much you can do about it. But it's very unsettling when these things happen. I think it's important for people to know and not feel isolated or made to feel too special or too unusual. These things can happen and you don't cause it by dreaming it.
It doesn't stop the feeling of guilt that you've had this dream.
I guess what I think is when in doubt, act as if you can intervene. When in doubt, if you think someone's going to die.
I didn't really understand that I could see things that I know today are foreboding warnings of disaster, and I've had a lot, lots and lots.
Since her youth, Barbara Garwell has dreamt of disasters and assassinations before they actually happened.
The first big one, I was about 14. I was on a hillside in Northern Ireland. I looked up at the sky and I saw this aircraft. Nose down, the fuselage of the aircraft broke away. And as I looked down, my voice said, 80 bodies there. I walked sadly to the left-hand side of the field, and there smiling were 3 men. Suspended above their head was a rugby ball. It was 2 o'clock as I woke up. I ran downstairs and I said, Dad, please let me tell you about this dream. I went to Mass, came home that Sunday. My dad turned the radio on and God, he said, Barbara, listen. Hillside, Northern Ireland, aircraft, 80 bodies. That's your dream you told me this morning. No, Dad, in a way. But I said, where are the survivors? But he said, no mention of survivors. So I said, well, it's wrong to say that it was my dream in full. The following evening, we had a local paper. I opened the page, and I chill to this day. 3 survivors in cockpit of rugby airline disaster. Took it to my dad. I said, Dad, yeah, there is the dream in full, in 2 halves. But that is the dream I saw at 2 o'clock on Sunday morning.
What interested me about Barbara Garwell was that when I analysed her premonitions, there was often a 3-day latency period between the premonition and the later event. You can't just ignore that. You can't just shrug at that sort of finding. This is very important because it adds to the veracity of the thing.
A premonition always awakens me. There seem to be, we'll say 8 out of 10 worldwide events, major events, like John Lennon and the attempt on President Reagan's life. It's just a voice, but I can't describe, can't attach male or female to it. Whatever this is, whoever warns me, I don't know. But there is certainly something.
She only rang me once to tell me about a premonition. I still remember her voice now saying, sorry to bother you, Dr. Hearn, but I've had this waking premonition of an attack, something to do with the Pope.
I saw the Pope, as I described it as a citadel. It looked like an old castle. And I saw the Pope walk under the canopy. On the green field, a multitude of people, masses and masses. And somewhere at the front, there was a man, and at the end of his hand, he held a dagger. And as the Pope turned around and walked by this guy, he lunged at the Pope with the dagger. A security man retrieved his hand, and the Pope fell.
And 3 days later, a man lunged at the Pope at the Fatima shrine in Portugal with a bayonet.
And when I looked at the footage, it was exactly in detail as I had seen on the Sunday. Now, no way is that coincidence, and no way did I make that up. Yes, I did cry and I was upset, and I am to this day.